Stories are meant to inspire, and we're privileged here to be here today as Next Big Innovation Labs, me representing the company that hopefully inspires the future entrepreneurs I see in the room here today. So, largely, there are various cues that you will see on this slide, which hopefully become much clearer as I go through the presentation. And hopefully, I'm able to do justice to sort of y'all going back inspired to do something interesting at the intersection of tech convergence. In short, what we've been able to do over the years is look at engineering, biotech, marry all these sort of different fields together and collectively create something known as 3D bioprinting and 3D bioprinted solutions. The impact for 3D bioprinting goes beyond just creating tissues in the lab that can be used to mimic certain studies. It goes into potentially helping us remove animal testing altogether from an industry like pharmaceuticals and cosmetic sector, which needn't be testing animals in cages anymore. Going into the future, pharmaceutical drug development, all of us know about how we've gone through the pandemic. We've seen certain cycles of why it's important to develop things much faster and much more efficiently. And tools such as bioprinting fit into the setups, the R&D setups of pharmaceutical companies and help them make medicines cheaper to develop and faster to go to market. So the whole idea of how we've approached this challenge is bring in tech and create solutions for it for sectors that have not seen enough influence of tech. So, with that, I'd just like to jump into my presentation. I will be looking at this from four perspectives, largely looking at the acronym RISE, RISE, resilience, innovation, science, and the exponential impact of this tech. This is one of our bioprinters that we've created, a truly made in India solution that today finds a use case in labs globally. And we've been able to do this from here, right here in Bangalore. And I hope you all enjoy this presentation. So, resilience. This was something that I really wanted to put out there because once I understood there'll be a lot of young future entrepreneurs in the room. It's important for you all to understand that entrepreneurship is not always a bed of roses. The journey to create something takes time, takes effort. There's always that push down. How do you rise up from those sort of instances is a challenge. So, as you can see, there's nothing great in what you see on the screen here today. Any engineer could maybe prototype something and start creating something like this. But this is how we started. There's always a beginning to something great that needs to come out. So the whole cycle of actually starting with an engineering mindset, but eventually evolving, you can see the evolution is largely keeping in mind a customer centric approach. Because as engineers, and I'm an engineer, we usually tend to bring products to market that we like, that is the best product out there, but generally we tend to forget what the customer wants. So our approach of actually building solutions also started with engineering, but then soon moved on to being more customer centric. And the evolution of the bioprinters, as you can see, over a period of time has led to us having three different bioprinting range of solutions available in the market that is already out in the market and cater to different audiences. So that's generally a big lesson for all the future entrepreneurs in the room is sort of the tenacity and the resilience that sort of you need to sort of have as part of your team to go through the tough days. And also, most importantly, when you're building solutions, build it for people and build it for the customer that needs to use it. So never forget the customer perspective when you're creating solutions. With this, largely jumping into where we are today. So we've started our journey as a small lab. Then we started with our first set of customers. And today we find ourselves doing interesting projects across the length and breadth of the country. In fact, even Manipal in the actual Manipal campus also is one of our customers doing very interesting work in utilizing seaweed from the oceans and creating bioprinted tissues. So largely what you see us doing here is enabling an ecosystem of change makers. Today, we've created what is a platform, a 3D bioprinting platform, which is a combination of the tech that I spoke about. And that tech, in the hands of the right researcher, could enable them to create downstream solutions such as lab grown human skin, human corneal tissue, human bone. And this as both applications, as we've heard about in the lab, as well as in clinical use cases once it's approved and ready for use on a patient. So today, the whole idea of us actually having risen to being here on the ink stage is probably because we're empowering the lives of so many other researchers, and the fact that we believe our success lies in making them successful. So that's sort of the journey that we have embarked on, and the success metric is largely how tech that we're building in the lab is empowering the lives and the community of researchers in India and beyond. Going on to the innovation cycle. So here I'd like to give you a short idea of innovation in the process. So what you see is a short video the World Economic Forum graciously made about one of our solutions being used to create corneal tissue in the lab. And as you can see, it's a combination of various things. One, you need to look at the tissue type of interest. In this case, it's a corneal tissue. And why is it needed? Because animal testing is something you want to avoid. So any product that you buy today in a cosmetic company is usually tested on an animal that you want to avoid. And generally, you will see a lot of use cases come in when you start becoming clinical, because millions of people sit on organ transplant wait lists. Millions of people require new lease of life when it comes to maybe a damaged cornea that needs to be replaced. And bioprinting provides that solution and that alternative. How we've been able to sort of bring this together, like I mentioned, is collectively marry four things together importantly: additive manufacturing, otherwise known as 3D printing; synthetic biology, because our understanding of the human biology and replicating that in the lab. The whole industry is called tissue engineering, because we're engineering the tissue in the lab. Materials engineering, because every solution that you create is different. When I'm doing bioprinting of bone, it's a different raw set of raw materials. Bioprinting of cornea is a different set of raw materials. Our human body is a complex mechanism of various cells that make up tissues, various tissues that make up organs. So if we have to play God and recreate this in the lab, the challenge is understanding all of these things together. And last but not the least, the area of software and AI that we're bringing in to make the machine smarter, because what we understand is the machine is only as good as the person using it. So, and the end user is usually a scientist sitting in a lab. So our sort of next step is also reducing the complexity of using a bioprinter and bringing in a layer of tech to simplify it. So this is sort of an innovation in the process that we have brought about in our company. Moving on to innovation in manufacturing, we've seen solutions where there's generative AI that everyone is talking about. We've deployed that in the design stage very early on, because the lighter our parts are, the easier it is to sort of accurately move certain precise components of the machine. So generative AI is something we've deployed at the design stage very effectively, and that's sort of an innovation in manufacturing. We've looked at prototyping, and right now even manufacturing a lot of the parts that go into the bioprinter ourselves. That gives us the control over building something from the ground up, and also, if need be, tweak things in the machine to suit the requirements of the customer. One of the key things we've been able to do differently is customize the bioprinter to suit every customer, which is sort of the game changer today in the market. And you can see other critical things like your components. You see the extruder setup, you see different kinds of extruders, you see every part of the machine is built in-house, envisioned in-house, and sort of eventually even assembled and exported from our labs. So this is largely an example of innovation in manufacturing that we've been able to bring within our own setup. Moving on to innovation on the software front. So largely, I would like you all to envision a future of understanding where bioprinting will sort of foresee a large game-changing effect in our lifetimes. So if you face any sort of injury, typically you will go to the doctor and he will ask you to get a CT scan, and the CT scan ends up something like this. And what a doctor is able to do after that is do a surgery looking at this sort of a CT scan. Experienced doctors can do it well, but if the doctor is still starting off maybe his career and doesn't have enough experience, there is a chance of an error of doing a surgery in a wrong way. So that sort of a complexity can be avoided by actually taking CT scans, which we have done, converting it into 3D models and printing it into regular 3D printed models, which we're able to give the doctors today. And they're able to practice their surgeries, do a mock surgery, and then go into the real surgery room and comfortably do it at a low error rate. So that is the first step of what we're able to achieve today. What can we do in the future? Envision something like this, where there is a missing part of the bone, possibly due to cancer. There is a sort of the part of the bone of the patient is degraded. If you need to replace it, what solution exists? The solution that exists is now you can put a metal implant inside the patient, Or why can't you put a bioprinted bone implant into the patient? The future of creating the bioprinted bone implant is something we work on today. The future of actually how we do it is starting with a CT scan and then converting into 3D model and then printing out a specific structure and putting it into the patient is the future of how we would like to do it. So generally, this would give you a perspective of where the tech stands today and what we envision to do. In terms of the science, largely what you see here is different methodologies because bioprinting is today not a one solution fits all. It's different methodologies, different sort of extruder mechanisms that we deploy to create downstream solutions. So the four-step ABCD of bioprinting is: one, identify the biomaterial, which is specific to what tissue you're trying to create. Two, the customized scaffolding and design that you create. You see something here which is like an artery that is being printed. Here we're trying to create a different scaffold. Here you're looking at something more specific to droplet level printing. These are different methodologies. Then the third step is the biotechnology led processes, because once the scaffold is created, then you put it into a biotech setup that mimics the right conditions as it is inside your body: 37 degrees centigrade, the right amount of oxygen, carbon dioxide. Then the cells in the scaffold grow into a tissue. Then you have the end tissue that you have to that you could utilize. So something like this is artery setup that we've created within a lab, and something like this is an example to say how we're able to do a print like a tubular structure, one layer inside another layer, which is mimicking sort of a blood vessel tomorrow that I have to create, or any other tubular organ. Solutions like this, bioprinted human skin. Solutions like this, the human corneal project that we have worked on, and futuristic solutions such as organ on a chip, which I will get to, that is impacting the pharmaceutical sector. So here you see the science behind actually making something work is complex, and it's the coming together of various fields in engineering. And these are various other sort of applications of the bioprinting solutions that have come out of various labs that we engage with. The bigger impact, the exponential impact. So we could do this sitting in a lab, we could do this putting it into the hands of a researcher, but when will this really have that mass scale exponential impact? That is when the pharmaceutical sector starts adopting to the use of bioprinting. And that cycle of adoption has started today thanks to certain regulations that are favoring the use of alternatives. And one of the key alternatives is bioprinting. So as you can see, developing medicine is not cheap, neither is it easy and fast. It typically takes a company 2 billion plus and 10 plus years to develop and bring a successful drug to market. And the odds of success is very low. And a lot of these research programs are funded by taxpayer money. So how can bioprinting come in and bring in more efficiency in both time and value, in terms of time and cost? Is basically because we can replicate and create solutions that mimic a human tissue and a human organ that pharmaceutical company can do a better test on. And something that matters to a lot of us is also the fact that we never want to buy a product that is tested on an animal. So now there are alternatives like bioprinted skin that can be used by cosmetic companies to do testing. So they rather not test on a real live animal and become more ethical. And as you can see, the biggest opportunity we see here is this is a graph in percentage. The pharmaceutical sector is typically spending a third of their revenue on R&D. And the reason they spend on so much money on R&D is because they want to recover those costs at the end of the day. So how could we basically get in, bring in more efficiency, help them drive the R&D costs low, and make the cost of medicines in the future much more cheaper, is sort of the entire exponential impact of bioprinting. We just don't want to stop here. We've started our journey. We understand the real strength of India is making in India. We begin that journey there. But now the real cycle of collaborating with global players comes in, because we see ourselves as more as an enabler. So we want to enable the global research community and potentially also have serve as a launch pad to bring in those innovations to India, Indianize it, make it cheaper, make it affordable, and make healthcare democratizable in our country. And the long-term goal of what we're trying to do, we've all possibly had people that we know have been on organ transplant wait lists. It's a long, painful process of being on one and finding the right organ donor. So bioprinting is the lease of life that can give a patient a new lease of life when this technology evolves and when we're able to create organs on demand. And that's the future that we work towards at NBIL. And to summarize, Largely, we've been able to look at solutions like bioprinted human skin that we've spoken about. We are an key enabler to the clean meat sector that a lot of people are hearing about. So when the lab grown cellular meat industry needs to scale, bioprinting is what can help you scale up the production of lab grown meat. We're looking at interesting solutions like organ on a chip, which is very useful for pharmaceutical sector to do their R&D. We're looking at, by the early next decade, late this decade, having real implantable sort of human tissues and organs. So that's a great possibility, given that regulators also have started considering this and giving it more priority. And last but not the least, why stop there? India has such an audacious space program. Bioprinting in space has proven itself to be an important sort of a stepping stone to better understand the long-term effects of radiation that astronauts suffer from, to long-term understand the impact of bioprinting food that astronauts can survive on in a long journey to Mars and beyond. So this is sort of the moonshot for us. We've started, and building a bioprinter was a moonshot. Now we've reached there. Now the next moonshot is not aiming for the stars, but aiming for other planets. And that's our journey, and I hope it was inspiring to you all. Thank you.